I'm back with another inventory slash collection video, and today we're going to be looking at all of my face color products. So any blush, highlight, contour, bronzer, all of those things. I have a wide variety here. Thankfully, it's not quite as bad as maybe I feared, but on another level, it's probably way worse than I thought it realistically was, because I really don't use these products that much. It wasn't until maybe the last year and a half or so that I even started to like blush. Why do I have so many then? I guess is my question. But anyway, let's just jump into it. Okay, so here is everything. Starting up here, we have blushes, and then this corner is contours, bronzers, and this corner is highlights. So I'm just going to start, as I did last time, up in this corner, kind of work my way around. And I will try to swatch as much as I can here for you. This is probably my very oldest blush because at the time I was like, you know, I should have a blush, but I don't want to spend money on a blush because I think blush is stupid. So this is Wet n Wild Pearlescent Pink. It is a pretty well-known drugstore dupe for Orgasm, but you can see I've used it so little that it still has the original like overlay pattern on it. So anyway, here is that guy. It is really pretty. Next I have the NARS Guy Bourdin palette, and this one was a little bit controversial when it came out because Guy Bourdin was not a very nice person, but it got returned. I wasn't going to buy it, and then it got returned after it had been discontinued, so I was like, I can't not get it. Sorry, that's kind of weird. So I keep everything basically forever. So it came with this little overlay, and it has a huge mirror, which is kind of nice. And then in here, this is one of my favorite, honestly, of all of their blush palettes in the last few years because it has the highlight and the bronzer and then 4 blushes. So the highlight, I think, was limited edition. You can't see that at all on my arm. It's so pretty. It is the prettiest highlighter. I've made a real dent in it. I'm sure you can't see it at all, but I have used it so much. It is beautiful. The contour, I believe, is Laguna, I'm sure, because why would it not be? Again, you can't really see that swatch very well, so I can swatch it again against all of my other bronzers, contours. The blushes, I honestly don't know the names for. I think it doesn't say them anywhere on here. I think you just basically have to look them up in reviews. I think this one is Orgasm, I think. I'm not actually sure. So, I'll just go ahead and swatch these. This hot pink one comes off pretty light Barbie pink here. Let me turn down my exposure just a little bit. See if that helps. I think this one is Orgasm. Here's the next one. Based on similarity to this, actually, this one is probably Orgasm. And then here is the darker one. I actually used this as an eyeshadow the other day, and I really liked it. So there's that darker one here. Next, I have my Makeup Geek blushes, and I have this one up here because I plan on destashing this, but I did want to have it in this collection first. This is by the way, a Lancome Dual Finish powder in the shade Porcelain 1. I just always forget that I have it, and it's kind of glittery now because it's been in here with this, so it's kind of stupid. Anyway, we have Bliss, Smitten, Spellbound, and Honeymoon. Bliss is definitely the most peachy shade in here. Looks like that. I really like that shade. Smitten is a little more orangey and a little bit lighter, but probably pretty similar on the cheeks, honestly. Spellbound is pretty pinky, like honestly pretty similar in tone to this darker one from the NARS palette, just a tiny bit lighter, but a very similar color. And then Honeymoon is a super light pink with so much glitter in it. It is so glittery. If I hold it up to you, like, out of focus, no, you can't see that. Can you see a little bit in the reflection there how, like, shiny it is? It's so shiny, it's ridiculous. I need to get rid of this, honestly. It needs to be destashed, so. Next, I have the Stilly Style Blush Bronze Duos. I have another one of those over here, but that one doesn't have a blush in it, so I separated it out. All of the bronzers are very similar, and I think that I swatched them in my review of these, so I will link that if you want to go watch it. I'm just going to do the blushes because they are the most different. This one is in the color Beach Babe, and it has another hot pink. I'm going to put that one up next to this NARS one. Yeah, it's genuinely like exactly the same shade as that NARS blush was. Can you even tell the difference there? Like, maybe it's a half a shade darker, so that's good to know. This one is in the shade Bahama Mama, and I expect that this is probably quite similar to one of these two shades from Makeup Geek. Yeah, it's really close to that first one. I believe that was Smitten. Oh, you can't see that at all. You can see it's right in between those two shades. And then this one is Hula Girl, and it is the darkest of the shades. I don't think I really have anything else like this. But it's also a lot sheerer than the other darker ones I have, so maybe a little bit easier to wear. This is the Kat Von D Everlasting Blush in Bellissima. I flipping loved this. It's so pretty. I used to wear this like literally every day. It's pinky, but it's not a pink pink. Like if you compare it to Orgasm up here, can you tell? It's similar, but it is more, okay, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to Pearlescent Pink, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just the tiniest bit peachier and has a really nice sheen to it. I really love this, and I used it really consistently for a very long time. Next we have Sephora Sweet on You. This is the colorful blush in number 05. It is actually quite similar to Bellissima, except a little bit pinker. So probably genuinely pretty close to Pearlescent Pink, except a little bit brighter. So, you know, there are only really so many variations on pink that you can have. So there's Sweet on You, and here is Bellissima one more time. Not quite the same, right? This one's quite a bit darker and pinker, but more or less similar. This is also a little bit more matte. Again, how much difference does that make on the face? Hard to say. I have the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. If you know anything about me, you know that I use this all the time. I love Luminoso. It is quite shimmery, but in a good, like, healthy glow sort of way. And again, quite peachy. So here it is up here next to all these other peaches. You know, they're all pretty similar, really, except that this one is definitely the most shimmery. This one was the most matte. The last powder blushes that I have are from the Sephora Pantone Universe from the year that it was Radiant Orchid. This is called the Rush Luster Cheek Sweep. And these are the colors that are inside of it. It is called Bridal Rose, Spanish Villa, and Radiant Orchid. So Radiant Orchid was, of course, the color for that year. So I used this all the time during working at Sephora while that was happening, but I haven't really used it very much since then. So here's the pink shade. I'm running out of room on my arm. It's super pretty. Again, very sheeny and, you know, kind of in between all of these other pinks. It's not too bright. It's not too pink. It's not, yeah, it's really nice. This is the highlight shade, which, again, is another one that I have really worn a dent in. Can you even see it? It's just such a pretty sheen highlight. Ugh. And then here is Radiant Orchid. It is not joking around. It is so pretty. Honestly, it's probably pretty close to the Urban Decay Purple Blush. And it's a huge pan. Like, I'm never, ever, ever going to finish that. But it is nice to have on occasion. You know, rare occasion. So, there's a whole bunch of blushes. Like a million blushes. I am going to wipe all this off. I'm running out of room. I have a few cream blushes. First, I have this NYX Rouge Cream Blush. This is in the shade Glow. And these are getting pretty old, so honestly, I don't know how much longer I should keep them. That's a pretty vibrant pink. This is in Boho Chic, and it's a much dustier rosy pink, more lighted pink. These are both pretty hard until, like, once I touch them, they're fine. But you can definitely tell they're getting older. Then we have the Josie Maran Coconut Cheek Gelée. This is in the shade Berry Bliss, which looks terrifyingly dark in here. But when you put it on the skin, there's really very, very little color payoff. You can see, I mean, even if you like tap it on and really build it up, it's still not way too dark. It's interesting because this is one of the more matte colors that exist. It's really more of a stain. But it doesn't deal very well with hairs. Like, it's not quite even where there are little hair follicles there on my hand. Finally, we have the L'Oreal Magic Smooth Soufflé Blush in Celestial, which was quite the rage when it first came out, and I don't know if they still exist anymore or not. That was way too much. You can see it's balling up. But it is a really pretty color. Again, very natural, and it really smooths out into just looking like really healthy, glowy, rosy skin. I really like this one. I've actually been reaching for this one a fair amount this winter. I have 3 real contour shades. First I want to show you, this is from Becca, and I don't think this gets talked about nearly enough. It is their cream contour. It's just called the Low Lighting Sculpting Perfector, and it's so pretty. I use this for a really long time, like all the time. It is starting to dry out now because it's getting older, but look at the color of this. Like, it looks really scary dark. It blends out so well because it's a cream, but it's still very cool toned. I love this product. If you're looking for a cream contour, I think that this is amazing. Then we have, of course, NYX blush in taupe. This is the older formula, and I'm gonna do this for so long and get like 0 color payoff. This thing is crap. You have to like scrape off all of the powder and then you get the color payoff. You can see it is super gray toned though, but it really does take like, can you see what I'm having to do? Like scrape it off with my nail in order to get any color payoff. So I got it down to the pan, but I don't really know how, probably just because I had to get anything to show up on my skin. Instead, I highly suggest the Sephora Colorful Blush in Tranquil, which again is not super pigmented, but at least it gets something without having to literally scrape at it. This is a lot more gray as opposed to taupe, which is a lot more purpley. I only have a couple bronzers. This is the Sephora Colorful Blush in Los Cabos, which they also have as a bronzer, but I liked that this way it matched my other packaging. So it's pretty sheer, but I like that. It's genuinely a pretty close color to that. It's just a little bit orangey, but not super orange. I have the Wet n Wild Color Icon in Ticket to Brazil, which is quite dark and orangey and a little bit shimmery, so quite a bronzer. I don't reach for that one very often, but it's nice to have. And I have the Too Faced Sun Bunny. This one I like because it has 2 different shades. So here's the lighter shade. It's kind of peachy. Here's the darker shade. Honestly, they mix together really well. It's a really beautiful bronzer, and I like that I can aim a little bit more for the light side and not feel like I'm getting covered in dark glittery orange. So let me come back up to the NARS palette and swatch Laguna next to those. Genuinely, Laguna is a lot cooler than I expected it to be compared to these. It's really a pretty close color match to Los Cabos from Sephora collection. It's a lot cooler than either of the Wet n Wild or the Too Faced just were. And let me also jump ahead a little bit, and I want to swatch this Sunkissed. This is a new Glow Girl, and this is their contour shade, and I really love this shade. Again, it's a lot cooler toned, but not as gray as something like these two up here, but definitely less orange than any of these. I love using this a lot. Now let's move on to the highlighter section. I don't know how well these swatches are going to show up, but I will try. This is the Smashbox Soft Lights in Shimmer. I don't think this exists anymore. And if it does, it doesn't exist at Sephora anymore, which just breaks my little heart. But it is so beautiful. So pretty. It's very pink toned, very shimmery, but not glittery. It's very pink tone shimmer, which is really my favorite kind of highlight. This is very similar. This is another pink tone highlight. This is the Makeup Forever eyeshadow highlight that came out with their 50 Shades of Grey collection, but it is completely smashed to pieces, and I didn't do that. It's just that crumbly. So I love it, but I think I'm going to have to get rid of it just because that is not useful to have in my collection. And honestly, it's pretty dang close to shimmer. Again, I don't think you can see that. It's maybe just the tiniest bit pinker, and honestly, that's not in its favor. Another pink tone highlight is the Wet n Wild Fergie. This is the Center Stage Collection To Reflect Shimmer Palette in Rose Champagne Glow. This was so hyped when it came out, and I searched everywhere for it, and then I stopped wearing it, which is really sad. It is so pretty. You can't see this at all, can you? Oh my god, it's so gorgeous. We have the NYX Illuminator. This is in Ritualistic, and you can see this one's a lot whiter, and it has a really gold tone to it, like the shimmer itself is very gold. Oh hey, that one finally shows up. So if you're looking for something that's very white and like Thunderstruck from Kat Von D, the new eyeshadow, but you don't want to pay Thunderstruck prices, this is a good choice. I have the Stilly Style Sunkissed. Again, this is called You Glow Girl. This is the highlight. These are the creamiest powders. I can't even handle it. This is super light, so if you're very fair skinned, this one will show up. It's very shimmery, but not at all glittery, and it's not yellowy gold, and it's not super pink. It's so freaking beautiful. I love both of these shades. If you haven't ever tried anything from Stilly Style, I think that this is a definite winner. And finally, I have two Becca highlights. I have one in Moonstone and one in Champagne Pop. So here is Moonstone. I know you've all seen it before, but it's a little more yellowy than I want it to be. I wish that I had Pearl, but when I bought this, Pearl did not exist in the pressed format yet. It's honestly as gold as the highlight is over the white here. It's about that shade all over, so it is quite golden, but not anything compared to Champagne Pop. If you know anything about that, it's quite peachy gold. Honestly, this is not a great highlight color on me, but I just love it so much. I don't even care. I'm glad I didn't spend the money on it, though. Honestly, if you're fair like I am, and you're looking for a highlight, I don't think that Champagne Pop is the right choice. Can you see how golden that is? I don't know, it's ridiculous to me. There's another swatch of the soft lights from Smashbox. I want to see if you can see it any better. You can, it just blends into my skin tone so well, but hopefully you can see that it's super shimmery. I love it. I think if I had to pick one, I would pick this one, and if I got to pick two, I would take these two. If I only had to pick one contour, I would go with Tranquil, but honestly, this one works just as well. If I only had to pick one bronzer, Los Cabos is probably the safest choice, but I would probably go Sun Bunny. And if I only got to pick one blush, it would really honestly come down to Bellissima and the Luminoso. These are probably my two favorite shades. Those are big choices, and I would really have to think about it, but I genuinely feel pretty confident about those choices. I don't think that I would regret that. So there are all of my blushes, bronzers, highlights. If there's anything that you want to see me use on my face in a tutorial, please let me know, and I will try to get to everything as much as I can. I'm not really sure what my destash plan is for these, but it's good to kind of know where I am and to kind of know what are my favorites and which are ones that I haven't reached for recently. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I will get back to you as soon as I can, and I will see you again soon. Bye!